With smoke is rolling in, we spend enough time together. For now.
Welcome to the show, we're breaking it down. You wanna know who, what, why, and how. It's a song fight diary.
The clouds are thick, but the air is thin. The smoke rolls in, the smoke rolls in. We feel the breeze and we choke on it. We cough and spit as the smoke rolls in. It creeps up like the tide comes in. It hums and whines like a violin. The ash and grit fall on your skin. The word gets out, the smoke is rolling in. Your throat is raw and singing low. The drum beats loud, a voice breaks in. You said the night was long and cold. The air is still and closing in. We can't stay inside, it isn't fair. And we can't go out in the filthy air. You can't explain or say where you've been. The word gets out and the smoke is rolling in. Your room or look out your window. You're scared to death of what you might see in the sky. The truth is gonna come with or without you. The choice is staying asleep or staying alive. For no reason but to tell you I'll be gone. You can find me when the sky is clear. Look below, not beyond. I've seen enough, now it's back to bed. A voice is always in my head. The city walls are caving in. The word gets out, the smoke is rolling in.
My name is Jeff Fal. I'm from Denver, Colorado.
What do you do when you're not songfighting?
For work. I am a user experience designer.
Yeah, what do you do when you're not doing either of those things?
Chasing my 4-year-old around, video games, riding my bike, avoiding other people.
Let it be known that we're recording this during the pandemic.
Oh, yes. Oh, makes sense anyway.
Yeah. Well, avoiding other people during a non-pandemic would be a different answer. All right.
Why not both?
Anything else you want the people to know about you before we start talking about the song?
And then I submit as ad.
Right. You're skipping ahead to
It's the song we're talking about. Submit my ad.
Totally cool.
Oh,
Totally
I thought.
Cool. No. It's all right.
coming.
I've only worked really hard on sequencing these questions. What was happening in your life or the world when you wrote this song?
About every other day you go outside and you realize I can't be outside today because it smells like burnt wood.
Mm-hmm.
You go back inside a couple hours later. Why is my throat sore? My eyes hurt a little bit.
What challenges did you face in the writing and recording of this song?
Maybe this is the thing to get into. Just songwriting process. It's been a long time working on my songwriting process. I did go through a long period where it didn't seem like any lyrics were ever good enough for me to ever put down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've actually, just all things, become a big believer in trying a terrible thing as a way to get to a good thing. I have a lyrical process right now where to sort of combat never being happy with the lyrics I come up with. For about the past year, I've been focusing more on just like writing the crappy line. If I think of a line, it goes in. I write it down. It's my ambition to pretty soon to be able to just sit down and in 20 minutes get the whole song with crappy lines, but just get the whole song. Because for the schedule a song fight, I want to be able to record as soon as possible. Something I've been working on is doing guide vocal tracks and guide guitar tracks as quickly as possible. So that every night I can like spend 20 minutes on the lyrics and then spend however much time I want to spend on the actual recording. My goal, I didn't quite get there with this one. I think this one, it maybe took me 3 nights of songwriting before recording. But the goal is in the first night to be able to have that song and record some guide track, so that the next night I'm simultaneously like improving the lyrics and adding tracks on to the song. The few song fight songs I've done since I've done this, I've been using it with some non-song fight songs, but I'm not working on a deadline, so those have still fallen prey to like I'm never quite satisfied. But the song fight songs I've written in the last month, this is the third one. I'm shocked at how terrible the lyrics are when I start and when I record that guide track. And if just every night, basically I've marked which lines suck and which lines are fine. And so every night I go and I at least try to change the sucky lines, even to another sucky line. I've been surprised to find out that after, you do 5 nights of that, every line is going to be pretty much fine. You may not have the perfect lines, but you've at least gotten rid of all the like really bad lines if you do that every night.
I think that's a good way to just have kind of constant progress, to have that feeling of not being stuck ever because you've got a method of having constant progress. That's great. So you basically do a demo before, or like early versions before you do the final recording.
And I demo it in the track I'm going to be working on.
Right. Okay. So it's constant evolution.
The guide tracks are usually the last thing I replace. Right. So I just sit down, one take. Well, it doesn't end up being one take. What am I talking about? I sit down and get a take eventually with the vocal and the rhythm guitar, even if I'm not going to have rhythm guitar. I do those, and then from there I'll move on to the bass and the drums, and usually the last thing I'll do is then re-record the vocal, and then if I decide I want another strummy rhythm guitar, I'll replace that at the end. So it's not really ever evolving. It's just I kind of like build it around this thing and then pull that out at the last minute and put something else in. I've been doing the guide tracks for a while, and I find it works so well. I never did it before because it felt like a waste, but it makes it so easy because the structure of the song. Like you don't have to keep the structure in your head while you're doing the other parts.
Right.
And it just lets you just record something right away.
Right.
Like, and if you fumble the lyrics, who cares? It's the, you know, you don't even really want to use it.
Where does this song fit into your body of work? Is it middle of the road, throwback, quickie, a sloppy toss off?
It's not one of my best. Feel bad saying about the song.
Poor song.
Poor song. So, but I still think it's good. It didn't scale the heights necessarily. I feel like there's probably a series of 3-time songs of mine, and they all have a lot of things that relate them to each other apart from the time. Like once I get into that time signature, I just kind of do a natural thing. Because the word rolling was in the title, I just went with 3-time pretty quickly.
Okay.
I had to train myself to, while I was writing the lyrics, to stop saying the tide is rolling in, you know, kind of has a shanty sort of feel. I think this song probably has its own sort of unique corner in my catalog. It's not one of the hits, I guess.
Do you have anything else to say about like what the song is about and what's trying to say? I know that, is there anything specific? Like, is it telling a story, or is there a particular message, or is it just describing this environment?
Yeah, it's kind of describing. The lyrics are probably more thematic snatches. They're like thematically related little phrases.
Okay.
You know? It isn't necessarily a concrete story. Usually my goal is to make it feel like it's a story if you just listen to hard enough. It's the David Lynch approach.
You mentioned non-song fight songs, but you're not using the same methodology for them, or?
No, I have been, but it's a little, you know, there are songs that will probably never be finished, right? Because they're not song fight. There's not a deadline. So they've been kicking around for a year or 2 years. That's kind of what got me into this process, because you know, I had these songs, I had lyrics for them, I didn't like the lyrics, and so I was trying to come up with some way to work on them, and I wanted to be more methodical about how I approached the lyrics and how I made sure they were good. And so I kind of developed the approach of like each line marking bad, good, bad, we don't know yet. And so these songs have been through like countless revisions. In fact, for a while I was doing it where I would even start a whole new document every time. It's something I found, like forcing yourself to rewrite something, like actually physically rewrite it, whether it's physical or whether it's digital, but actually rewriting it always helps me change things that I should change anyway. So these songs have gone through that process again and again and again. And I'll say, comparing that with the song fight songs where they only get, you know, a few days, or if I'm lucky, 4 or 5 days, where I try and do a revision every night, I don't know that past that actually makes it any better. I've been pretty happy with the lyrics. I worry too much about whether lyrics are good, and if I would just record them and sing them later on, I would realize, oh, that was good all along. I just being too.
Yeah. When you go back to that song from 5 years ago, you're like, wow, did I write that? That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you find that you're changing things, and they're just different. They're not better.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are worse because you remove the character from them. You remove something distinctive because it stands out to you. So I guess one other thing that I did with the music, I don't want the part instrumental break, I guess, but there's the part after the smoke is rolling in, and then there's a chord progression where I just sort of threw in this set of chords. There's probably a good name to describe what they are, but it's like G, but you're on the 3rd fret of the two highest strings, and then you move that to an E7, but you've still got the two highest three. So you're using four. There's probably much better ways to describe this, but you've got the third fret on the two highest strings still, and then I think from there it goes to a C9. So you've kept the D note on the B string,
right?
And then and it's these chords that I've like. I think the Sparkle Horse song, Most Beautiful Widow, uses these chords, but they have this kind of cool sound because a lot of the notes are droning while you're through it, and it was just the song was just an excuse that when I got there I was like, I'm just going to use a bunch of those chords and make a progression that I just like to hear over and over again, and that became the instrumental part. Then I go back to just regular chords for the song part, but that became a big part of the character of the song.
And do you have a distinct bridge as opposed to that section?
Yes.
So you kind of got two different intermission.
Yeah. These days I pretty much always write a bridge, unless I can talk myself out of it somehow, convince myself that this song is special and doesn't need a bridge. Because I sort of feel like a bridge is required, but I try really hard. I think I got close on this one. I try hard to write a bridge that doesn't necessarily feel like it's just required. Because I've written bridges where it does seem like it's just, here's something different, not here's something that's going to complement the rest of the song necessarily, or, introduce a new direction. It's just, and now difference. And now we're back. I mean, the verse and the chorus, it's just kind of like one flow, and then I just do that a couple times. Yeah, and then stick the bridge in. And yeah, I don't know.
I do that, and sometimes I'm worried that all my structures are the same.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm playing with the band, it's like, all right, here comes the bridge. Well, this is exactly the same as the last damn song that we played. I'm repeating myself. I'm a failure. This is terrible. Everybody's going to notice, and they're just going to call me out after the show. Dude, all your songs are like the same. And I get the exact opposite comment.
Yeah. Nobody notices that the structure is the same. Why would they notice that?
I don't know. All your songs are so different. I'm like, no, they're not. They're exactly the same, and it's awful. All of this is getting cut out. Do you have the ability to play us the hook?
So the hook is it's really just that G C G E. I guess that E is the thing that gives it a little bit of character rather than just. And then I mentioned after a few of those, you just feel like you have to go to A minor. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the hook would probably be the G, C, G, A. I guess.
That's a simple hook. I think that chorus melody is definitely the smoke is rolling. It's pretty hooky.
And that's just this D C down to A. It's just descending. Mm-hmm. C A G, and then we do the. Something that worked better than I realized it was going to work when I did it is there's that acoustic guitar melody in those instrumental sections that goes like. It's really simple. Mm-hmm. And so then, I laid down enough chord time, enough of the progressions that I was like, well, that's not going to hold interest enough. Mm-hmm. So then after a certain part, I start adding in notes from the next string over. So instead of, it's like, and somehow that just like little change kind of refreshes the whole mm-hmm. progression. So you can listen to it again for another couple of times once that starts happening.
Is there a line from the lyrics that you are especially fond of?
The line, you'll find me not below but beyond. The beyond, the below and the beyond, and mixing those words. And I just kind of stumbled on them. I was like, oh, I just did a little bit of wordplay. I think I'll emphasize that. And so then I rewrote the words a little bit. So look below, not beyond. That's what it is. So
I remember that line, and that was a striking line, and I was trying to figure out what it means.
You and me both. No, like you're buried below or something. You left, but you didn't escape.
Yeah, in my head, it was going to like, look for me below, not beyond, like look for me in hell, not in heaven, or something like that, you know?
Yeah. I love it.
I like that. That's what you can take that. That can be official canon. I'll just excise this part of the video. All right. So this is more about production now. What software did you use for the song?
Reaper.
Any plugins or anything of note?
I almost always use Dramatic that's my drum VST. It's just good at synths. But then there are drum samples played by Sitala, Sitala, which is something I found relatively recently, just a simple drum sample player.
How long have you been using Reaper?
13, 14 years.
Really? Wow.
I don't remember exactly when I switched, but I seem to think, in 2007 I was for sure using Reaper. I think it was around then that I gave up on Audition.
I love Premiere. I love Photoshop. But Adobe, you've ruined Cool Edit Pro for us. And I don't know that you can ever come back from that.
Yeah. And so I feel like Reaper is what carries on the spirit of Cool Edit Pro. Yeah. So that's why I like using Reaper.
What instruments, real or virtual, did you use?
I used acoustic guitar, electric guitar with EBow. I didn't mention the EBow. That I seem to fall back on the EBow with 3-time a lot for some reason. That just sounds right to me. Oh, also electric guitar with the tremolo, which also is. There are a lot of parts there that I felt like I was just kind of going back on things that normally save arrangements.
The tremolo pedal or the actual whammy bar?
VST. It's it's just a tremolo effect on top of the guitar. It was recorded with distortion, and then just in Reaper I added tremolo.
Oh, it was recorded through a pedal with overdrive.
I have a floor pod.
Okay.
So so virtual amp, and then the tremolo effect was added on after the performance.
So in your floor pod, you're going in with a little bit of dirt on the guitar sound. Yeah. All right. So
that's right.
Immutable, as they say.
For a while I was recording the guitar always clean, but you don't need to do that. You're not gonna go back and change. Just record it the way you want it. And then a bunch of percussion. My kid, for his birthday, got a bunch of little little toy tambourines, and they sound awesome. So I used a tambourine. I probably should have used these. Got 4 of them. I should have used 4 at once, but I only used 1.
Nice.
Shaker eggs, a little fish, the stick,
a little Wiro sort of thing.
That one. The difficulty with those is I am not well versed in how to find places for sonically for all that percussion so that it sits. I feel like the fish sounds too upfront sometimes.
Yeah,
I had a hard time getting that to settle in.
Right, it's super transient, so it breaks through everything.
Yeah. It ended up being a really tough song to mix, and then I was trying to use actual real percussion and not do a bunch of drum programming like I usually do. There's some drum programming, but I was trying to do more percussion that I don't often do. Partially because my rhythm's not really that great. which is something I've been wanting to work on. So that was one reason why I want to do this. But it ended up being difficult to mix. I think because I had so many instruments that were kind of in the same range. Yeah, so that was a challenge. The writing wasn't so difficult. The writing was pretty easy.
Yeah. What kind of mic do you have? We talked about it, but
yeah, it is a Equitech E100 is my vocal mic. I think I use the SM58 on the acoustic guitar. Sometimes I use a 57. Sometimes use a 58 on the acoustic.
And your interface
is a Scarlett Focusrite. Scarlett Focusrite. It's got two mic ins. It's got two line ins in the back. The reason why I switched to the Focusrite is actually really stupid. I had an M Audio something or other. And when at a certain Mac OS upgrade, just stopped working. Looked it up, and people are like, "Yeah, it doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
Crap,
it doesn't want to work anymore."
Well, it was around the time I moved from Windows to Mac at a certain point. So I didn't realize that moving to Mac was going to mean that thing didn't work anymore. So
I might have had the same thing.
Around.
I feel like M Audio was great for like 6 months in the 90s. And because I tried a couple of other M Audio things.
I'm still on M Audio monitors. I think that's the only M Audio I still use.
It's not a question. I'll cut that out.
The monitors, yeah. No one wants to know that.
You mentioned earlier that the mix was hard to get right.
Every time I listened to the song, I was like, I don't hear enough of that, and I want less of that. And then I'd listen to it again, and I'm like, well, actually, now I feel like I want to listen to you. And so now I listen back on the mix, and the EBO's too quiet, and the claps aren't loud enough, and I don't know. So getting the mix right, especially on that instrumental part, was difficult, and I don't think I did it. So
what did you listen on? You listened on your M Audio monitors and headphones?
Yeah, and I listened on some shitty Apple earbuds. So I tried to listen to it on a bunch of things.
Did you make adjustments after?
Yeah, and I'm not sure that made it better. Like, I'm not sure that trying out all the different speakers, I think if you've got a lot of time, but if you don't have a lot of time, the music just stops at a certain point and you sit down.
Right.
And wherever you just randomly were, I had last listened to it on that speaker. So
Right. So it's going to sound best on that because that was the last adjustments that I did. Yeah. Hope you like earbuds, everybody.
Right.
Is it a keeper?
I don't know. I'll have to see next time there's a Song Fight Live.
Right.
That's usually the only time I dig them up and decide what is worth remembering. I've been really good lately about writing down the chords for these. So this one I will be able to go back to it. I have the chords written down.
I have some of those.
So we'll see.
Are you at this moment happy with the end result?